Hello, Cape Codders. Welcome to another edition of the Scannell Agenda. Today's date is September 19th, 2014. This is show number 19. Today I'm going to discuss a few things. But I'll start out with what I do, basically, the basics of what I do. Going to talk about the scallop shells. This is my card that I made up years ago. Environmental Fishermen's Corporation. We work on the puzzle. Fisheries and aquaculture research and development, complex systems research and development. Okay. Now, you've seen people that buy the little books of puzzles, and they like to do these puzzles of one kind or another. Could be the, Sudoku or whatever they call that, or crossword puzzles, or if you listen to NPR, people are hooked on these different puzzles and mind games and word games, and people love to challenge themselves, and I'm no different. What I like to do is to try to design systems for the public trust. And as I say, I design comprehensive, complex systems for the public trust. So that's what I say I do. I don't know. It's a fantasy possibly, but I keep working on it. So one of the things I work on is core construction. And over here, I have soft core pipe spacer. This is just something I've been drawing up lately. It's a lamination of shingles and then scrap wood that is about 5/16 by 5/16, along with fiberglass. And it's a production line drawing of how you would build these core pieces of a puzzle. So it's doodling. You call it doodling. And I love to do that. So that would be applicable to designing hulls or boat construction or windmill construction or what have you. There's probably many uses for core construction. Now, I'm going to get into bed bugs, but I want to talk about blimps first. Blimps, bed bugs, scallop shells, and then core construction again. Now the blimps, years ago I started to work on these large-scale water systems, and so that requires a lot of infrastructure. So the blimp designs that I do, and this morning I was just walking down the street, and I've got this thing in my mind pictured, blimp stand water tower. So designed multiple water towers to work in conjunction with being a dock for a blimp or a blimp stand. Now what this would do right now in California would give us a very strong presence with firefighting, with the forest fires and brush fires over there or anywhere. So the thing is, what you don't want to do is just, if you're in my business here, you want to be careful not to just discount ideas and say, oh, that sounds crazy. Sometimes something that does sound a little crazy, firefighting with a blimp, if you keep working on it, it makes more sense. So the blimp firefighting apparatus would probably be comprised of about 4 or 5 blimps, and the one blimp that did the firefighting would be tended by 4 other blimps that would carry carriage systems, anchoring systems, different systems that go with the firefighting blimp itself. And these blimps that I design are pretty big because they need to be able to catch water from incoming planes that come and drop the water, not on the fire, which is very inaccurate, but drop water into the top of a blimp. And then the blimp will be able to direct the water onto the fire and not waste a drop. Well, that's an exaggeration. But the wasteful nature of trying to hit the targets with planes, they're probably pretty good at it, but for what it is, it needs a redesign and new equipment. This is firefighting equipment. I did mention I was a firefighter for a little while, just a volunteer on Nantucket, and we really needed to have a bunch of guys out there that would step up because, of course, it's an island and you don't have the mutual aid. So that was very important for Nantucket to have a good, strong fire department that would have many, many, many volunteers. For that reason, you can't call next door to Dennis and say, come on over. It's just impossible, almost impossible. So the blimps go with the Tripe system, and as you know, I call the Tripe system TRIPE, or track pipe. The blimp firefighting gear would not be possible without the methods to hold water and push water or pump water, pipage, plumbing, reservoirs. See, the blimp really wouldn't make sense unless you have a lot of other things done. And these are the things I work on. So I say we work on the puzzle. That being my failed company motto, which my company was Environmental Fishermen's Corporation. That's my webpage still. And in 1999, I think I had about 4 or 5 projects, and I had a little shop in New Bedford, right near the Whaling Museum. But I wasn't getting any cooperation, and my back went out, and I couldn't even go scalloping. It was horrendous. It was sacroiliac. So that was kind of a failure. But I keep working on these designs. The materials for building a blimp of a grand scale that would be capable of firefighting have come a long way. They really have. Carbon fiber, lightweight, strength to weight, and the engineering, of course, too. That has come a long way. And the propulsion systems. So we're only worried about, can we scale it up and do it? And can we provide, the financial backing for all these other subsystems? See, it wouldn't just be a firefighting blimp. You'd have to have all these other subsystems involved that would support this. And you'd have to look at the economics of, okay, what's it costing us and what's it gonna cost us down the road with all these wildfires raging all around, and they're moving north, they say. They're trending to the north, and the global climate change situation ties into that. We're not getting the rains in certain areas, but I'm not going to cover all that stuff. But years ago, I took it for granted that this global warming was basically true. But the details, I wasn't about to get into that. I was working on the solutions to the problem. And as I've said before, number 1, what is the problem? Number 2, what is the cause of the problem or causes? Number 3, what are the possible solutions to the problem? That's where I live. And then the easy part, number 4, what is the best possible solution? Okay, it's enough about blimps. I've had kind of a rotten summer in a way. It's been beautiful weather. Oh, best weather I've ever seen in my whole life. Here on Cape Cod, I've been on Cape Cod most of my life. I'm 57. This is the best weather we've ever had. The bed bugs kind of ruined it for me. I live in a building with 4 apartments and another unit, which is a workshop, and it's an older building. And I knew what I was moving into. I figured when I moved to where I am, it's just inevitable. I'm going to get these things. And years ago, I started a file on bed bugs. I said, come on, this is just bed bugs. We can deal with this and eradicate these things. But oh, geez, we've been living with these things for so long. Bed bugs. So I've been working on, this is state paid or worker exterminators. So finally, after after almost 3 months, and, you know, dealing with the landlord, okay, the landlord is not a social worker, and the landlord is not the Board of Health, but you got all these people involved. So I'm trying to design systems that make more sense. So I waited almost 3 months. I mean, we were chasing after them, but if you're in one building and they're chasing after a few bed bugs in your apartment, and the other apartment or this apartment or that apartment has a major infestation, and that's where they came from, and they're not treating that, and they're treating you, and you may be searching and scrounging for, I think I've probably found a total of less than 100 since I've been there, maybe 150. But the reason I say it's kind of ruined, I'm kind of nutty about these bed bugs. I don't want them, and I don't like them. And I'd be up at, you know, turning on the light at 2 in the morning, searching for these. It's a little bit OCD, you might say. I wish the government were just as OCD about eradicating these things. But you can't expect the landlord to be, these private landlords, you can't expect them to be on top of it. Now, BHA, Barnstable Housing Authority, I was with them for many years through Bay Bridge. Now, they were always on top of any little infestation, and the drugs too. If you told them at BHA, you know, someone's peddling drugs and we don't like it, you know, the other tenants, we don't like all these businesses being run in our apartment building, let's say. Well, BHA would be keeping an eye on it, and they would do something about it. It would take them a little bit too long for my satisfaction, you know, because bureaucracy is what it is. But BHA was very good about, you know, I know there was a minor infestation of roaches once, but they would be right on it, right on it. They wouldn't be messing around, but, you know, you really can't expect landlords to carry the weight of what social workers ought to be doing and what the government ought to be doing and what the boards of health should be doing. So there's a lot that's going on here with the bed bugs, and I'm working on that. And so the low-hanging fruit with the bed bugs, I figure if we can conquer 60% of the problem by picking the low-hanging fruit, and this is locally, nationally, internationally, and what would that be? So to conquer 60%, you'd have to have a little bit draconian rules and regulations for what I call the chronic bed bug house. And to my way of thinking, you know, I wasn't putting bugs and drugs together for no reason at all. These things go together like peanut butter and jelly. That's silly, I know. But the bed bugs and the drugs, you're gonna more or less find both of them if you have, you know, drug houses and transient apartments with people, you know, crash pads, as my dad would call them, flop houses. So the draconian thing to do, which to me is not draconian, it's epidemiological thinking. So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here with these. This is an epidemic. And to my way of thinking, again, you throw the drugs in there too, as far as that being an epidemic. But my drug opinions would not be popular, I'm telling you. Anyway, require reports from citizens, tenants, social workers, and landlords. In other words, if I reported bed bugs to my landlord, well, that would be mandated, you know, you'd have to bump it up. Because in an old building, if you've got signs of bed bugs showing in one apartment, well, either I could have brought them in, or there could be a major infestation in the building. So we want early warning systems, and I've even invented this bed bug trap that has a little mouse that you put under the bed, and so you can detect the first early signs of the bed bug infestation. It's a cute little bed bug trap based on the bed bugs will go to a source of heat, and they'll, I guess they were cave dwellers, these bed bugs, I was told. But, and maybe they fed on bats, but so early warnings are very good. And then the the bug house quarantine would have to kick in. If you're going to really solve this, and particularly in Hyannis, this would be difficult. But I'm sure the other towns on the Cape don't want to suffer with Hyannis having bed bugs. If they conquer bed bugs in every other town, Dennis, Harwich, Orleans, and if they're on it, they don't want people moving from Hyannis into their communities with these things, because these infestations are insidious. So the draconian thing to do, which I would agree with because it's epidemiologically sound thinking, is to go with early warnings, reports, and then quarantines of a sort. In other words, a flop house, you wouldn't be able to have bed bugs and run a flop house. And if you were running a flop house, if your landlord allowed a flop house to be existing, in other words, what I mean is there are many houses that have a lot of people sleeping over and crashing. That's just the personality of Hyannis, if you will. So until the bed bugs are treated and found to be eradicated, then you got to shut down the day sleepovers, the sleepovers night or day, and visitations to this particular bug house or any particular bug house. And the first thing, of course, is the knowledge of the bed bugs infestation. I mean, we should want to get rid of this. A lot of this applies internationally, nationally, and then locally, but you have to construct these things locally and what would work, and then you have to go and scale them up and such like that. So don't bite the hand that feeds you. All right, so if a landlord does, well, tenants want to be good, they want to be loyal, they want to serve their landlord. But if a landlord does benefit from a delaying action via bombing, these are minor delaying actions. They'll delay the bed bugs, which dampens and chases the bed bugs. Okay, then the tenants, the many tenants, will comply just as if this is the accepted public policy, which it should not be. It only spreads the bed bugs when you basically you dampen them down. Okay, while in actuality hiding the bed bug problem or the issue, it may be counter to real public policy. Or this may be public policy at this point now. We just don't know what to do. Bear in mind, this is kind of new stuff, these bed bugs, as far as policy. I don't think the boards of health are on top of it. And I don't think the politicians are really on top of it, because otherwise I wouldn't have been up for, waking up 2 or 3 times every night this summer, chasing after bed bugs. That's just maddening to me that I had to be doing that. And then finally, as I counseled with the Barnstable Housing Authority, they said, call the Board of Health. And that's all they would say to me. Go to the Board of Health. Go to the Board of Health. So I went to the Board of Health. And then things started happening in the whole building. So that's why I believe in mandated reports and inspections, especially when you're talking about these old buildings. Because if you have an apartment building, and I've been told stories that would gag you if you heard them. I almost gagged when I heard some of these stories about bed bugs in my area, because some people are not able, and it's not their nature because of either mental illness or probably just mental illness, but they may be oblivious or on meds all night and just zonked out. And these might be people that are just trying to cope with life on a day-to-day basis. So you can't put it on people that have mental illness to solve all these problems and to get on it. You've got to have social workers come in. And in the right combination, a team of people coming in, we can get rid of these bed bugs nationally and internationally and be done with it. And I would say economically, why keep fighting these bed bugs when we should be getting together on a worldwide scale and fighting it. So that's what I'm working on. Yeah, and there's a lot to it, but that's kind of it. All right, scallop shells. These are beautiful. Nantucket bay scallop shells. You may know them as Cape scallops too. I'm going to share with you my process. First of all, you match up the, so I'll break this one here. This is a, oh, that's one of my nicer ones. I'm not going to bust that one. Let's see. Not that one either. Okay, I'll bust this one up. Oh, no, I won't. Here we go. This one's already been kind of opened up a little bit. I opened this so I could put a little necklace line in there. Now, this is a scallop shell, both sides bivalve, bay scallops. So that's the glue I use. It's a very good glue from Bradford's Hardware. Okay, so you start out when you're at the shanty, opening or shucking, and you match these up. Okay, that's a matched pair at the shanty, and you put them in racks. This is what I did. And then you let them dry. Then you soak them in Clorox bleach. This is what I do. And that's dangerous chemicals. So let me just, as they do on all these other shows, okay, don't try this at home, or make sure you have professional help when you're doing this until you get going. But I see this as a possible cottage industry for the Cape and the Islands, and every little scallop town that's going to be, you know, coming up the ranks. We've been missing our bay scallops, of course. Okay, so after they get thoroughly rinsed, after they are soaked in the Clorox, then dried, now you glue them. I use pretty fancy glue. I forgot the name of it, sorry, but it's really good. And I just glue one little spot there, and then I take a dish with this marine product, and this is very dangerous, but I do it. And you can use muriatic acid, just as you would use I use on-off, which is a very harsh acid. It's sulfuric acid. And when you dip the shells one side, roll them around, okay, dip them in the other, and then I have about 1, 2, 3, and then I soak them in water. It's a very fast process with the acid, but very dangerous. And then they go to dry after I've rinsed them 3 or 4 times. And now you put the varnish on, and my friend helped me varnish these, and we have been together giving them away and having a good time giving them away. Gave some to the people at the library, and we gave some to the people at the Barnstable town offices. Just kind of fun to do, so let's expand that. So if you're a businessman, you may have a card. This is my card, but I ran out of them. So if you gave away a card with a scallop shell, people would be, whoa, you know, oh, some people are just so tickled to get these beautiful little shells. And so I wanted to get that out there. And as a project, I'm going to try to parlay that into making oars. And these are scallop, the makings of scallop shell earrings. Maybe I'll do a little necklace with these, or a refrigerator magnet. And I want to hire all my friends that are disabled, poor and disabled. So I want to try to parlay that into oars and maybe boats and windmills and see where it goes from there. I want to get my boat, the Hurricane Emily, into shape so I can give tours of rebuilding this bay scallop fishery. I've talked about that. But if I get my boat and truck together so I can give a little presentation on how we all build the bay scallop fishery back, that's my intention, is to get us all together on the same page if we can. up and down the East Coast, as I've spoken about, rebuilding these bay scallop fisheries. They're beautiful, beautiful shells, and raised some money on Nantucket. I'll talk more about it later. That's really is the thing. Sometimes I glue on a little boat shell or capitula, and that there's a glued on dead man's toenails or jingle shells, whatever you want to call it. So I love working on this stuff, and this is a tangible project as opposed to some of the other projects are just on paper. But I've got all these processes for the shells worked out somewhat. They can be improved. There's a lot of improvement to go on all these processes that I work on. But I've chosen to get into the bed bugs because it's just nagging me. You know, this is more of what I do. This is 2 years worth of work. Okay, 2 minutes to go. 2 years worth of work. I do about 10 pages a day. And so I just wanted to show you. So obviously, this stuff here is on a ratio. On a ratio of, I like to think 30 to 1. So if you looked at all these papers and came up with 1 out of 30 that somewhat made some sense, and that was, you know, then that would be good to me. Okay, that's the Scannell agenda. Thanks for watching.